I've been wanting to do this for so long that I'm genuinely scared of how y'all are going to react to some of my opinions. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel and to another video. Today we are going to be doing a Demon Slayer character tier list. I have had this on my list to do for literally a year. I haven't done it for a couple reasons. One is it is kind of a lengthy video. I don't see any way this is gonna be like less than 45 minutes edited down. If you're watching this, you already know how long it is. But also, y'all can get crazy when it comes to who people like, you know, when it comes to just favorites. So I'm gonna remind everyone right now, these are just my opinions. This is based off my own perception of how I see characters and what I like when it comes to characters. It'll probably be different than yours. I'm not saying that any of these characters are just so bad and so horribly written. No, this is just me saying, oh, I love this character, or I'm indifferent, or I hate this character. And there's no objective fact behind it. So before you get those fiery fingers talking about how I only watch Demon Slayer from Reels, because this has literally happened to me before on other social media, just remember it's my opinion. But with that, we're actually just gonna dive right in. But before we do, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts. As always, keep it respectful. And if you're interested in following me on social media, I'm at Hannah Malay on Instagram and TikTok. And then also you can follow me on X. I'm Looking Nerdy there. This is just for my random thoughts throughout the day. I'm super random on there. And all of my socials are linked in the description. Finally, if you're interested in joining my channel membership, you can get access to my regular videos, my Wednesday uploads early. I will upload them on Tuesday for my members, along with some other fun perks. So if you're interested in joining me there, it's also linked in my description. With that, we're going in, we're diving in. Let's do this, guys. All right, so we have S, A, B, C, D, F, and die. This was a pre-made tier list that people have been using on Twitter, which is actually what got me kind of going in the idea of like, I really just need to sit down and do this. So all the characters are randomized. Again, my own opinions, and we are starting with Akaza. Oh, by the way, manga spoilers in this video, because some of these characters, the way I have to talk about them is based off of what happens in the manga that has not been animated. So, warning, manga spoilers ahead. I really like Akaza. He's my second favorite demon. I will admit, and some people have called me out on this, I pretty much follow the demons are bad, humans are good. I don't care if that makes me simple or makes me boring. So naturally, I'm going to prefer a lot of the human characters over the demons. I think the story of Demon Slayer is really well done with making us feel for these demons, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're supposed to forgive them. I think it's very obvious that we're not supposed to, and because I feel like I can't actually forgive any of them for what they did, I can just understand why. I can't like put most of them higher than a lot of the human characters. That being said, this isn't really like a, oh, I like Akaza better than this. This is just where I'm gonna put them in a tier. So we're gonna put Akaza squarely in A. I feel like he is very well written. He's very well developed. I'm gonna sob my eyes out in the movie theater when his story is adapted. But he's just not quite an S tier for me, because at the end of the day, I think that his story was well done, but he's not like, oh my god, I love him so much. Amane. Okay, Amane is pretty basic in my opinion. I know I just talked about how humans are generally gonna be ranked higher for me. However, we just don't get to know her enough. I do think she deserves a lot more recognition for what she did and how she sacrificed herself for her husband's plan. I think at the end of the day, she was going to go along with Kaguya no matter what, but I believe, like personally, my own opinion is that she had a choice. Like Kaguya gave her a choice, like you can stay by my side and die with me, or you can go somewhere safe and not be a part of it. And she chose to be with him. I don't see any world where he was just like, not telling people or forcing them into that. Kaguya seems to not kind of be that character. So anyway, I do really like her. I think she deserves a lot more recognition than she gets just for how badass she was to sit there and stare Muzan down and know that she was going to die, but she's just like, she didn't even flinch, and she was so cool. So That being said, I'm gonna put her in B because I still wish there was more about her. Aoi. Okay, Aoi I love a lot, but kind of similar to Amane, she just doesn't have as much story development as I would like to put her really above B. So she's gonna stay in B. I do love her and adore her, and I love her sassiness. And I do love that she ended up with Inosuke. I think that just is so cute. So B just feels like the spot to put her. I don't really have anything else to say. Okay, Brother Spider. I don't have thoughts on him. You know what? We'll put him in die. There's nothing about him that I could say that I really like, and he's just a die. Die. Okay. Daki. Okay. This is so hard. So Daki's a really interesting character, but I love her story with her brother, and I love how they are very parallel to Nezuko and Tanjiro, and she, at the end of the day, is completely a victim. She's one of the few demons where I genuinely feel like she had no choice in the matter, because she was like on her deathbed. She was moments away from dying. Gyutaro made that decision for her to turn her into a demon out of his own selfish desire to keep living. So she is much more of a victim than a lot of the other demons, in my opinion, because, well, they're all victims. Most of them are victims, right? Most of them have had these horrible things happen to them, but a lot of them still chose the route of a demon. Daki did not. That being said, she's fine as a character, and it's not like I love her to put her above B. I think B, again, there's going to be a lot of characters in B probably, but like when it comes to Akaza, like her writing to me and my attachment to her is definitely less than Akaza, and yeah, that's that. Ooh, okay, so all right, y'all, you know where we're at here. Tanjiro's my favorite character in all of media. I could go on and on and on and on about him, and I definitely am going to make a video essay about him soon. It's in the process of being made. When it comes to video essays about characters, I actually do write a script because I want to do those characters justice when I'm talking about them. And for Tanjiro, it actually kind of requires me to like read through the entire manga and call out points. It's probably going to be a very long and comprehensive video, so I'm working on it. I cannot guarantee it's going to happen in the next few months. It might be like an end of year type thing because of how important this character is to me. Like, because he's so important to me, I'm putting so much time and effort into making this video, because Tanjiro is one of those characters where I constantly see on the internet that he's boring, that he has no plot, that he's just got plot armor and he just moves the story forward. And that's just not the case. Tanjiro has so much nuance to him that people are not willing to talk about. And I think he also really perfectly depicts the ways that people can handle trauma differently. I think in Tanjiro's case, he was raised in a way during Taisho era Japan as the older brother with a terminally ill father. He was forced into this role of being the protector, of being the person kind of in charge. And with that, he was more than likely taught to not show emotion, to remain happy and kind so that his younger siblings could grieve, like the death of their grandma and then the death of their father. And everything that he goes through throughout the story kind of goes back to how he was raised. And I do think that he is naturally inclined to just be a very kind person. But in my opinion, his story so obviously shows a person that is going through all this trauma, but choosing to just force it down for the sake of others. But there's little like blips in that, right? Like Mugen Train, I'm so tired of people being like, bro just met Rengoku and he's sobbing. That was not the point of his tears. Yes, that pushed him into that. Like the death of Rengoku pushed him into the frustration that led to the tears. but he makes it very obvious that those tears are not just him grieving Rengoku's death, which, by the way, he's very loyal and he loves fiercely. And he also has the ability to trust people like that because of his sense of smell. So he will warm up to people a lot faster too. And so he warmed up to Rengoku faster than even we would as an audience. And then like Rengoku died, even though he was so strong. And all of that just kind of led to this like avalanche of emotions that he's been building up all like throughout the series up until then, since like his family died, right? So there's a lot of nuance within his character that people don't want to talk about because he's just the nice kid that doesn't grieve. Or like, it's so crazy because on Twitter, whatever, people are either like, he never cries over his family, he's just like too kind, it's unrealistic, and then there's other people that call him a crybaby. I'm like, which one is it? It just goes to show how much people just want to hate on him because people want to hate on Demon Slayer. And I think he deserves so much love. I love him. He inspires me to be a better person. And he's so good. I'm going to stop there. Otherwise, I'm going to talk for an hour and a half in this video. But I love Tanjiro. Tanjiro gets his own section because it's Tanjiro. And we should all know, if you've been watching my channel for a while, we should know how much I love Tanjiro. And if this is your first time, hello, I am the biggest Tanjiro stan you will probably ever meet. So welcome, I hope you enjoy. Okay, moving on from my favorite character to someone that I do think is actually a little bit overrated. We have Doma. Okay, I have a bone to pick with the Demon Slayer fandom a little bit when it comes to Doma because no matter what way I look at how he's written, I see him as a character that experienced some troubles in his childhood. The way he was treated was not the way a child should be treated because he was born with the rainbow eyes. And I'm paraphrasing because it's been a minute since I've read the manga. I'm trying to wait until the movie comes out so that I can be like kind of surprised and be reminded of information that I maybe forgot. But I'm so tired of the narrative that he's a complete victim compared to like most of the other demons. I think it was obvious that his writing was to show that he had like a couple iffy things happen to him. Like he kind of just went through a life and he became like evil because of it. Like he is an evil demon. He's not like an Akaza where he didn't even really get a choice, or Daki where she didn't get a choice, or like the trauma that happened to them was just so mind-boggling bad that they were only seeing red and they made the choice to become immortal to enact revenge. Doma to me felt like an obvious character where it was like, yes, he had some bad things happen to him. I'm not trying to say that he was not a victim when he was a child. However, he took that experience and became like a truly bad person because of it. So I still really like him. Like, I think he's an interesting character, but again, people are gonna come for me. I'm putting him in C. I'm sorry if you disagree with it. I think he's just a little overrated. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, Enmu, die. I hate this guy. That's all I have to say. Spider Father, die. I hate you. Okay, Genya. Okay, so Genya is someone who, man, when I read the manga, I wasn't as attached to him, but as he's been animated, I think it partially is due to the voice actor. And again, I always remind people I watch anime subbed because I'm learning Japanese. And his voice actor, the way he just went from this like very gruffy, loud, mad, silly boy to like in Hashira training, he was talking so softly and kindly. I love his character development. I think Genya, and I'll talk about another character, probably has one of the better character arcs. We're not going to talk about how it ends because I hate it. When the end of the Kokushibo fight gets animated, someone be there for me, please. Someone please check on me because that's going to be the hardest one for me. Genya, I love him. He's definitely in my top 10. I don't think he's in my top 5, but top 10. I love him. And he deserves to go an S. He also deserves more love. Okay, Gyu, another S for us. So Gyu is my second favorite character in the story. I think it's so funny. I feel like when it comes to Gyu, people either love him or hate him. Like, there's no in between. Gyu is my favorite Hashira for a kind of specific reason, and it is his development with Tanjiro. So since Tanjiro means so much to me, Tanjiro is such a protector, and what Gyu does is Gyu takes on the protector role for Tanjiro. What I love about Gyu, he's always been like the younger sibling, and he gets to take on the role of big brother for Tanjiro, and then like Tanjiro has always been the big brother. He has to be the big brother of the group because he has the most like ability to think logically, but he gets to be the younger brother from Gyu. And Gyu's desire to protect Tanjiro throughout the entirety of the final arc, and then the moment where he thinks that he couldn't, then he's put in a position where he has to now kill him. Again, when like Sunrise Countdown is animated, check on me, please. Message me. Like, I'm gonna need people. I'm gonna need emotional support. Yeah, Gyu's arc is also just really, really well done. I like how it's also intertwined with Sabito, which intertwines it with Tanjiro. I like how when it comes to the Hashira, they all kind of have similar backstories except for a select few. But for him, he deals very much in the realm of imposter syndrome, which obviously nothing that I'm gonna ever experience in life is gonna be the imposter syndrome that he experiences. However, I have experienced imposter syndrome in my life, and it makes Gyu feel a bit more relatable because he went through all this loss and it made him stronger. Like, he worked really hard to become a Hashira. Like, he deserves the spot of a Hashira, but he doesn't even believe he's supposed to be in the Demon Slayer Corps. And I feel like that's such a very dramatic experience that a lot of us go through in like the workforce or at school. Like, we do really well at the interview, and then we feel like we don't deserve the job because of the requirements, whatever. And then we work really hard to get there with that job. So Gyu, I love. He's my second favorite character. I'm actually gonna move him like right there just because no one's touching these two characters on my list. These two will always be my top two. From 3 onwards, things constantly rotate. Okay, is that Goto? Okay, I love Goto. I'm so sorry, but this man brings me so much joy. Kind of similar to a lot of the other characters, I feel like we don't get to know him enough. However, his random insert quips, and I feel like I can't remember. I feel like there's definitely more to come with him. I'm putting him in B as well. Love him. Gyoko, die. I cannot stand Gyoko. When Muichiro killed him, I was like, thank God, because if I had to listen to one more hyo, I was going to punch the TV screen. I'm kidding. I don't resort to violence. Yeah, die. Gyoko is one of the few ones too where there's just no redeeming qualities about him. He's ugly. He doesn't have a good backstory. He doesn't have a backstory. Well, I guess he does in one of the fan books. Yeah, he can die. Gyomei. Okay. Gyomei I love. And he's another character that has very much grown on me as I've watched the show and read the manga more, is that like every read through or every watch through, I'm like, oh, I love you just a little bit more. The problem is there's so many characters in Demon Slayer that I love and adore. I've said this many times, I'll say it again. The characters in Demon Slayer are what carry the show, to me. Not the animation. The animation is spectacular, second to none, all that fun stuff. The action sequences are amazing, on the edge of my seat all the time. Definitely one of its strengths. But for me, what I love about the show is the characters. I think they're all very unique, but also have similar backgrounds, and I love that fact. Gyomei's story is one of the harder ones for me, just because of, I guess, similar to Gyu, more relatable because I'm older, like I'm 28, and he was like looking after people. And while I've never been in a position where I'm like looking after orphans, I've definitely been in positions where I'm taking care of children a lot, just with my background of like coaching skating classes and that sort of thing. So it feels a bit more relatable to like really care about these kids. I'm also an aunt. I'm gonna say it the technical proper way. In America, we generally call it an aunt, but I know that's also a bug. So I'm an aunt. I love my nieces and nephews so much. I would protect them with my life. I'm not a mom yet, someday. But anyway, there's just like this level of relatability for that, but also just what happened to him was so incredibly terrible. I have to put him in A, for sure. And I'm putting him in A and not S more because like he's 7. Like, there's still something more that I want from him. I don't know if more of his story being animated and like his fight with Kokushibo being animated is going to help that. But for now, there's a little inkling of like, I'm addicted to Gyu and Genya. You know, like, I love them. I would write fan fiction about them. Gyome, not quite there yet. Okay. Gyutaro. So Gyutaro, I do like better than Daki in the sense of writing. I feel like he was just maybe a little bit more well-developed because their backstory focused more on him and less on her. He is very paralleled with Tanjiro. I'll probably honestly make a video of their parallels, probably sooner than I make a Tanjiro essay. Let's be so for real. Do I love him enough to put him in A? No. Yes? Like, he's super well written. He represents so much in the story, so much foreshadowing, so much of like what could have been with Tanjiro. But at the end of the day, I also kind of hate how his desire for revenge against the humans who wronged them, who very much wronged them, I will say. Like, they were both going to die. His whole way of growing up is just horrible, and I don't blame him for hating humanity because his trauma is from humans. And that's what kind of makes a lot of the demons different from the demon slayers, is that they all have they all have trauma, right? But usually the demons, their trauma is from humans, while the demon slayers, their trauma is from demons, and that's kind of what changes why they end up where they're at, right? However, his choice to become a demon and not allowing Daki to, I mean, he couldn't give her a choice because she was dying, but it just makes me sad that he like made that choice for her when at the end of the day, like, I don't know where I'm going with that. He'll go in A. I think he's very well written, and I think there's just like, there's something to be said about what he represented in the story. And yeah, A feels good. Oh, Hanako. So it's hard because I want to love all of like the Kamado siblings. The problem is they all died in episode 1. So I don't know enough about them. We did get a little bit in Mugen Train, of course. But Hanako, I think most of the Kamado siblings will go and see just because it's like, if I got more time with them, they would be higher, I'm sure, because I love Tanjiro, so I think I'm gonna love all the Kamado siblings. It's just like, there's not enough development of them for me to put them above like characters that actually were present throughout the story or had really good writing, that sort of thing. Hand Demon, die. Hantengu. Okay, I was gonna put him in die, but let me explain something with Hantengu. Something that I think a lot of people brush over because Daki and Gyutaro were very interesting. At the end of the day, like, the way they developed the story was very good. And then going to Swordsmith Village, I do agree with the general idea that it's kind of like after getting an arc with really interesting demons, now our demons are boring, right? I do think it's just because Swordsmith Village switched to caring more about developing our demon slayers, which I like better than Entertainment District. I think a lot of people don't realize that Entertainment District, we don't actually get that much development of Tengen. It's more of a very action heavy and very like demon story heavy arc, while Swordsmith Village kind of pumps the brakes on the action and goes heavy on the development of the demon slayers within the arc, right? But Hantengu is interesting because Hantengu is a demon that is one of the first ones we meet that genuinely says that he's the victim, right? He's just begging for mercy the entire time. He's scared. He's just constantly like, I'm the victim, I'm the victim. And what's interesting is for Tanjiro, every demon that he's fought up until then, or most of them, there's a few that like he hasn't really shown empathy to, but most of them have been very cocky with him the entire time and like usually make the first move with fighting, but then he shows empathy to them like once he senses the pain that they've gone through. Hantengu is literally begging for that empathy the entire time, and he is one of the only ones that Tanjiro feels absolutely no remorse or empathy towards. Yes, there's like occasionally one or two demons here and there, but not only does he never feel empathy or remorse for Hantengu, it's one of the first ones where he's genuinely like beyond angry. And part of that is because when he actually kills Hantengu, he thinks Nezuko is dead, so like there's a lot of emotions involved with that. But Hantengu literally pushes Tanjiro into saying Kisama, which is very like anime. Like no one would ever say that in real life in Japan because it is like comically disrespectful to say Kisama to someone because it's a word for you. But pretty much any word for you in Japanese is kind of disrespectful. No one says that. Everyone calls each other by their names or they omit the subject of the sentence. So Hantengu just was a really interesting contrast in my opinion. So for that, I'll put him in C. I will. I'll do it. This guy, okay, you can go and die. Is that, okay, I cannot keep track of all the Ubuyashiki kids except for Kirya because he has black hair. Am I going to be called a fake fan for not knowing which Ubuyashiki kid this is? I think this is one of the sisters who died in the explosion. I think these two right here are the two that were with Kirya, and this is one of the ones that died. I have no freaking idea. The Ubuyashiki kids are fine. I'm not gonna get into it because I don't really have many thoughts. Hinatsuru. Okay, I know the running joke on the internet is that Hinatsuru is Tengen's favorite wife because he seems to show her a lot more affection than the other two. I don't think that's the case. I think he loves them all equally. However, she's my favorite wife. I've cosplayed her. I enjoy her. I like how she's kind of mirrored to Tanjiro. Like the three wives are very mirrored to the main trio. And she's like kind of the one with a level head. She is a lot kinder, that sort of thing. That being said, like she, again, doesn't have that much story. They did add a lot to Hashira training though, which I enjoyed. We'll put her in B. Hagenisuka is beautiful, but I honestly kind of can't stand him. So he's going in C. I'm sorry. Inosuke. Okay, Inosuke is my third favorite character. So we're just going to slide him right here. Obviously he's S tier. Inosuke is the character that I will say without a shadow of the doubt is one of my favorite full arcs because I think that, okay, I'm going to get into some major manga spoilers. So if you've been watching this and kind of dodging the small spoilers I've been saying, this is going to be huge. The fact that when he met Tanjiro, he wanted to fight him so bad. Like they got into this fist fight and then after they're done, and like Inosuke was unconscious for a while, he wakes back up, he's still like, fight me, fight me, fight me, fight me. Like this boy wants to fight anyone, and he wants to fight Tanjiro. The fact that the kind of end of his arc is him not being able to fight Tanjiro because he looks at him like a brother and cares about him so much. Again, check on me guys, because I'm not gonna be okay when that's animated. When he says, I can't do it. He literally goes from only wanting to fight Tanjiro, like that's the only thing on his mind, to not being able to fight him so much that he will die at his hand. Because in that moment, like Tanjiro was literally about to like grab his face and kill him. And Inosuke's like, I can't kill you, so I guess I'm gonna die by your hand. No one talks about this. Everyone always talks about how sad the deaths are in Infinity Castle and Sunrise Countdown, which like I get. But no one talks about like that moment and how, okay. Anyway, Inosuke just is my son. I love him. I think he's really well written. S. Okay, we're gonna put these two Ubuyashiki kids together in D. Speaking of Ubuyashiki, we have Kaguya. Kaguya is B? Yeah. I like him. There's something about him that keeps him from being an A. It might be like a lack of screen time. He is a little bit manipulative. He is a little bit of a player, like, of the game, you know, which ended up working out in their favor. But I don't know. I don't know what to say. I like him, but compared to those in A, S, and Tanjiro, B feels good. Kaigaku. I actually have a hot take on Kaigaku, and I probably like him better than the average person because I think he really represents like how most, like he's in it for his own survival. He's like the polar opposite of Tanjiro. He only cares about his own survival, even at the cost of others, which represents a large portion of humanity. I will just say, a lot of people are so selfish that they only care about themselves and everyone else around them has to suffer. Do I hate him? Yes, but I think his arc, like his development, is actually more interesting than a lot of other people will say. So he's gonna go and see. Don't come for me. Kanai, this is gonna be another one, don't come for me, but she's going in D. I don't care about her. This is one of the things that I genuinely do not understand why so many people have her as their favorite character, because I genuinely like could not care less about her. And yes, I'm using the term right. Remember that it is could not care less. I could not care less. That means that I care the least that there is possible about her. Saying I could care less means that you could, which means you're open to conversation. I could not care less about her. That's my hot take, I guess. Kanamori. He's fine. I don't know why he slid right there. Not really any thoughts. Kanao. Okay, Kanao is another one that has been growing on me so much, kind of like Genya. I think that she's so underrated. I think there's going to be a lot more people who love her once Infinity Castle is animated and Sunrise Countdown. But one of the reasons why I love her so much is I just love her dynamic with Tanjiro, and I love that ship, so that helps. But also just her development is really interesting to me, and again, like deals with a very different kind of trauma. In a story where a lot of people have very similar traumas and are handling it differently, hers is different because she never knew love. Like literally, like she was born into a family where they were just using her, and Shinobu and Kanai represented a love for her, and then Tanjiro moved that forward even more. And her fight with Doma is so good. I have to put her in S. I have to put her in S. That's where she belongs. We've already been recording for 40 minutes, and I have... am I halfway there yet? Okay, all right, speed run. Kia Kamado. I'll put her in... B because she has a little bit more, and I love her. And Kyria is also going to go above the rest of the Ubuyashiki kids because he's pretty present in the final arc and he works very hard. So he's going to go in B. I don't really care about him that much, but I liked his relevance to the story in the end and what he did and what he had to work through. Like, can you imagine losing your father and mother, losing both your parents and two of your siblings, and then being tasked with humanity's survival? That's crazy. Oh, I don't remember who's who with the triplets, the butterfly triplets. We'll put her in D because, again, it's like, I'm sorry, I don't care that much about them. Okay, Kokushibo is going to be one of the, if not the only, demon that goes in S tier. So I don't want to get too into this because I'm actually going to make a video about like my extreme Demon Slayer hot takes, and I'm going to be talking about him. He's my favorite demon. I hate him, but I also think he is the most well-written demon by a lot. And I was on the edge of my seat for his story, just like his story, dealing with like the jealousy aspect of it. Again, like he chose to be a demon because he just never could live up to his brother. And the way his story not only was just very interesting, but also was intertwined with the story as a whole because of his brother. I really loved it. I don't want to get much more into it, but Kokushiba is like the only demon that's going to go in S tier. I think he's actually the only demon that will. So just so y'all know. And he is simply because of how well written he is. I have no like emotional attachment to him. I just found him so cool and interesting. Okay, Kotetsu. I'm sorry, bud. You're going in D. I'm indifferent to you. Is that Kyogai? That's Kyogai. You can go in D. You had a little bit of a story. Rengoku. Okay. I definitely don't love him as much as the internet. I still love and adore him. I wish, like, I would love him more if we got more time with him. And I'm not saying like, I don't agree with the people that are like, oh, I didn't care about him at all because we got more time with him. I felt like he was developed very well, but I also because I got more time with a lot of the other characters, prefer a lot of the other characters above him. So, don't hate me. He's going in A. I love him. He's my third favorite Hashira at this point. Yeah, he's my third favorite. But I would expect that to change in the future. And by change, I mean probably go down because of how many of the Hashira we still haven't gotten a ton of animated yet. Because I tend to start to like a character better once I've gotten to see their story animated because there's more emotions behind it and that sort of thing. All right. Die. 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 All of those no-named random lower moons, we saw them for like 2 seconds. So, Makio, like I said, Hinatsuru's my favorite wife. However, Makio's gonna go in B too, because I really enjoy all three of the wives. Like, I think they're pretty fun. So, it's not like I'm attached to them. It's just that I enjoy all of them. I would just, like, in a list, put Hinatsuru above her. Makomo can also go in B. There's a lot of, I'm like, oh my god, the characters are so amazing. But because I feel so strongly about like 10 of them, maybe 15, there's a lot where it's like, okay. Mitsuri, S. She does not deserve the hate that she gets. First of all, I just love her. I love that she's just so like fun and sweet and bubbly and airheaded at times. Like, I feel very connected to her, like her personality. On top of that, I really liked her backstory. I loved that it was the one that's very different from all the others, that she didn't experience death at the hand of demons, but she has lived in a world where she doesn't fit in and lacks that self-confidence from that time, and going into the Demon Slayer Corps really utilized her strengths and who she was as a person so she could be herself. Not to the same dramatic effect. I'm not joining a military corps to fit in, but I've always been a nerd. I've always been a little bit different. And I've hardly ever felt like I fit into regular crowds. And it wasn't until I became an adult and started finding friends who shared the same love of like nerdy culture with me and going to conventions that I felt like I had a place. And so, again, like, conventions are definitely not joining a military corps, but I feel like I belong. And so I relate to Mitsuri probably the most of all the characters. And I feel like that gets misunderstood a lot. People are like, her story is boring because she didn't lose people. But then those same people will say all the characters have the same backstories. Again, it's like, it's hypocritical and it shows how people just want to hate. I love what she represents, and I love that she represents something that we as an audience can relate to on an extreme measure, but I love her. I adore her. We're actually going to slide her in like we'll put her there because it's hard to say. Okay. Die. Don't care about you. Muichiro. Oh boy. I have hot takes on Muichiro. I love him. Again, like, I will add every single Hashira I love. I love and adore every single Hashira, every single member of the Kamaboko squad. But when it comes down to it, and it kind of is funny because of who he is when we first meet him, I sometimes forget he exists. This is my prerogative. I'm arguing with no one, but also the Rengoku fans and the Muichiro fans are by far the like craziest on the internet when I say that they're not my favorite character. I have my own prerogative and you have yours. Characters are fun in a way where we're all going to feel a little bit differently about them. I really have grown to love him more since he's gotten animated more, and I really do adore him. There's something about it that, like, something's missing for me with him. But he's going in A because I genuinely love and adore him. When it comes to, like, the Kamaboko squad and the other Hashiras, he's just a little bit lower. Murata, you can go in... Okay, I love Murata. No, he doesn't solo the verse, but he's so sweet, and I actually really love his character in the Sunrise Countdown arc. So, we're putting him in A because I love him. Muzan? I hate him. I can't put him with all the demons that I don't care whatsoever about because they either just have no backstory or have very limited time. I hate him because he's evil and he's supposed to be hated. think he's an interesting written villain. A lot of people say that he's a horrible villain, especially compared to like the Upper Moons. But I think that there's a point in that. I think a lot of stories actually have the like secondary villains be more interesting than the main villain. The main villain is not supposed to be like loved or that sort of thing. That's like kind of the plot that they went with. And I like that. But I still think he was well written. So I just hate him because it's Muzan. So he goes an F. Okay, another butterfly triplet, which I cannot remember who's who. You're going in D. Nakime. I feel like there was a lot to be desired with her. I feel like she could have been introduced sooner, and like she was introduced in season 1, but like not enough to be like, oh, who's that? She can go and see like again. Nezuko! Okay, Nezuko is so misunderstood by this fandom. Another video that will be coming. I feel like so many of these videos, I'm like, oh, this video's coming, this video's coming, this video's coming, and then it never happens. But it's because I'm putting in a lot of work and working on the scripts for these. It's just gonna take a while, and the editing's gonna take a lot longer too. Nezuko goes in S tier. I like Giyu better, and I technically like Inosuke better, but I'm just gonna put her right here because she just belongs next to her brother. I'm so tired of the narrative that Nezuko's just a pet or a puppet. Nezuko has free will, and what's so cool about her character is the fact that she's had her humanity stripped from her, and it's caused her to be in this state of like constant childlike, and yet she still makes decisions throughout the story. Like she can still understand that like she needs to protect her brother, that she needs to protect humanity, and she has this like innate love for her family, but also she has to deal with her trauma, which is arguably worse than Tanjiro because she was there when it happened and then got turned into a demon, again, stripped of her humanity. And she doesn't get time to do it because she's in this state of just like not really being there. And yes, like, is she just like cute a lot of the times? Yes, but she's so relevant to the story, and I'm so tired of people acting like she isn't, and especially the end. The only thing I would say is I understand why she wasn't in the Infinity Castle. Obviously, it would not make sense for her to be fighting that because the whole point is that Muzan was looking for her. However, I wish we got more times to like check in with her, develop like what was happening there inside her brain. That's the only thing I wish there was more of. And the same with like Mitsuri, I wish there was so much more of her, but I still like Nezuko is so underrated, and I will not stand for Nezuko slander anymore. Okay, another Ubuyashiki kid. Here, you can all go together there. Obanai. Here's my other hot take. So Obanai is actually my least favorite Hashira. I've talked about that a little bit before. It's mostly just because he got his backstory so late in the story that by the time it happened, I was like, I don't have the emotional capacity to like give a damn. But I do care about him, and when it gets animated, I'm gonna love him a lot more. But just the way he treats Tanjiro, I love his relationship with Mitsuri. That being said, he's still gonna go an A because I love all the Hashira, and I do love his development. He's just the one I felt the most like indifferent towards because by the time his story rolled around, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I don't know who, well, I know who you are. We had like 5 minutes. Rokta, he deserved so much better. Rui, okay. Jenna, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. We've already talked about the fact that I don't care for Rui that much. I definitely would not put him in Dai because his story was very sad and interesting, but compared to so many of the other demons, he falls to the wayside for me. I'm putting him in C. I just don't care for Rui that much. Sabito, I don't like him as much as the internet, I will say, but I do love him. And I like that his story is relevant to the plot and to Tanjiro's plot. I just realized I put Makomo in B, so I'm gonna put Sabito in A. I feel like a lot of people would put him in S tier, but like, I don't know, man. I would need a little bit more time with him to care a little bit more. Urokodaki can go in A as well. I don't care. He is like the one of the previous Hashira and that sort of thing that I love. I have a lot of headcanons about him being like the dad of the group after the final battle, because like his students, who he couldn't get them to survive final selection, the 2 that did survive the entire thing. So I see him like checking in on both Gyu and Tanjiro along with all the others a lot, because he's just like the dad of the group. Sanemi, my hot take is that he's my second favorite Hashira. He can go right there. Sanemi is purely there, kind of like Kokushibo, but I love him a lot more. His development is incredible. Inosuke, Sanemi, Kokushibo. Well, like there's a lot of really well-written characters, but Sanemi's was very special to me, and he represents, again, a big parallel to Tanjiro because he has such a similar story to him, but represents like the opposite of how you react to it. Like Sanemi becomes very jaded, and I'm not trying to say that his actions in the story are always correct. You know, I got a lot of hate when I talked about episode 5 of Hashira Training, where I said I'm Sanemi's #1 hater, because his actions there are irredeemable. He wanted to blind his brother, which is his way of protecting him, but he's like a very lost and confused person who unfortunately has to go through unspeakable pain to get to the point where he realizes that he shouldn't have done that. But he doesn't have any good person to look up to because he literally grew up with an abusive father. And that's where his and Tanjiro's stories are different. So another video coming, I promise. But Sanemi is, I understand why people dislike him, because I disliked him for a very long time. And especially like if anime onlys dislike him, I get that. Where we're at in the story now is like, oh, I'm like, he's at rock bottom to me. Mostly because he punched Tanjiro, and I'm just like, nope. How dare you punch my boy in the face when he's just trying to, you know, defend his friend. So he's definitely like at the lowest point, and not all of his actions are redeemable because he's been a horrible person for most of the story. But I feel like because he's been such a horrible person for most of the story, the payoff at the end is one of the best ones. So that's all I'll say for now. Is that Shigeru? Shigeru can go. I should put all of the Kamado siblings together. Jigoro, I don't like him as much as Urokodaki, but I don't like, am I indifferent? I'll put him in B. I like him. Shinjuro. His development is really good, but I also, like, unlike Sanemi, his development was not enough to fully redeem himself and the way he acted when we met him. Goodness, okay, I've been recording for 55 minutes. Shinobu. I love and adore her, and I keep seeing people say that she's not relevant to the story. I'm sorry, but what the... I won't say it because YouTube hates that. But what story did you watch? I have argued in the past that Shinobu I love, but she feels more relevant to the plot than she is her own character. This girl dies at the very beginning of the Infinity Castle arc and remains relevant until the very end. I'm sorry, put some more respect on her name. She moves the plot forward so much because of what she can do. Shinobu goes in S. I did it. I don't care. I'm putting her in S. Spider siblings die. Suma, same as the other wives. I'll put them together. I love them all. I want more time with them. So, okay, next is our third butterfly triplet it's like Sumi, Naho, and I don't remember. Susumaru. I won't put her in die because she got a little bit more of a story and she had kind of a sad closing, but she goes in D. This guy, die. This is Takeo. Takeo can go with his siblings. Tamayo, okay. Solidly an S. And what better way to pair her up with Shinobu right here, because these are the two. I would say there's parts of the story where I feel like the writing is a little bit iffy towards the women, but not the way the internet tries to make it out to be. And most of it is because these two badass bitches right here, Like, let's be so for real. There was no shot. No, like, can you imagine if they couldn't do what they did? Like, okay, first things first, Tamayo, her introduction was the first demon outside of Nezuko that was on their side, kind of. And she still kind of acted alone. She wasn't necessarily on either side. She was kind of in the middle. And it's like the first good demon we met outside of Nezuko. And that, the way she was relevant for the rest of the story too is so interesting, because I feel like a lot of stories will introduce interesting characters at the beginning that could be super relevant to the story and then don't make them relevant to the story. She remains so relevant that they would have lost everything if it weren't for her. Like, she carries that final fight. If it were not for her and Shinobu, everyone would have died, Muzan would have lived and won and become immortal, found Nezuko at some point, and then wreaked havoc on the entire world, because if he's immortal, he would have lived and he would still be alive today and probably would be flying to other countries. The world would be done because Muzan would still live. So yeah, Tamayo is also just, I love her. Like, she's so interesting, the way that she kind of acts on her own, but also is ending up helping the Demon Slayers at the end because she makes that choice and is willing to sacrifice herself for it. So, Tanjiro. Where's Kia? Kia is B. Tanjiro will go in A because, like, he's very relevant to the plot. First of all, because of what he teaches Tanjiro. But also, like, I love the fact that he was probably Yorichi reborn, but I don't know. There's a lot of theories with it. We don't get a ton of time with him, but I do, like, love him as a character. And I also feel like, again, like, very relevant to the plot, obviously. So, yeah. The leader of the swordsmith village can go in D. I don't really care. Tengen. Okay. Tengen is my fourth favorite Hashira, right below, I don't know, maybe. That list's constantly changing. It literally, like, I've made a list. It's changed since then. And that was, I posted that almost a year ago already. Holy moly, time is flying. Tengen will go in S. I love him. A lot of my love for him comes from my headcanons about him, because he doesn't actually get that much development. But I love the headcanon that he just kind of, him and his wives kind of adopt the Kamaboko squad. And also, like, along with Urokodaki, is constantly checking in on them. Yahaba can go and die. Sorry. Okay, we're down to our final two. Yushiro. Yushiro, I'll put in A. I don't love him as much as Tamayo, but he's not as relevant. Is he relevant? Yes, obviously. And he carried on Tamayo's well because Tamayo did not even make it outside of the castle. So she was already dead for the entirety of Sunrise Countdown. And Yushiro made sure to keep that, like, the will of Tamayo keep going. He also is part of the reason why Tanjiro's alive the first time, because Tanjiro was hit with the big attack and was pretty much dead, and then Yushiro, like, pretty much forced him back alive along with Murata. They're like, no. Hey, come back. Yushiro's story is also one of the most sad ones, in my opinion, because of the fact that he just, like, keeps on living without the person that he loves most. So he'll go in A. I don't love him as much as anyone in S, or think he's, like, so incredibly well written that he deserves to be an S, even though I might not love them. If that makes any sense, like, Kokushibo's there for that reason. But A feels solid. Okay. I've been putting off talking about him. Well, I have to, because he was at the end. Zenitsu will still go in S. Is he my least favorite of the Kamaboko squad? Yes. The only reason is that I do find the over-the-top screaming just annoying at times, but I understand why he is the way that he is, and I think he's also severely misunderstood by the fandom, mostly because they focus on his, like, screaming and crying kind of being a gag in the story, and I think that Zenitsu is one of the few characters that actually goes down on my list of favorites because of the writing and because of the gag of him. He's really the only character in the Kamaboko squad. I guess they all kind of have gags. Like, Nezuko has the gag of the Inosuke is the like, fight me, right? Zenitsu is the like screaming constantly, and Zenitsu is just by far the most annoying to me. But he's not a creep. He is a kid who grew up with no parental guidance, and he is very traumatized in a very different way from a lot of the other characters, and a lot of his trauma is stemmed from women taking advantage of him, which can lead someone to become incredibly dependent on them and have the attitude that he has. So Zenitsu deserves a little bit more love, in my opinion, and I put him in S, even though he's my least favorite Kamaboko, and he's pretty low on my like top 15. I still can say that I love him, and I still can say that he deserves a lot more love. I just think that when it comes to what I enjoy out of a character, I like sometimes wish that he would just be a bit quieter. I also felt like his character arc was the most disappointing of the Kamaboko squad, because like he got to that point where he kind of got, well, he didn't kind of get serious. He got very serious with Kaigaku, but by the end of the final arc, he was kind of back to his old self. And I'm not saying I wanted him to just be serious all the time, because that's not the point of his character, but I was hoping that he would kind of get over the like obsessive things, if you know what I mean. I still ship him with Nezuko, and I hate the prerogative that Tanjiro doesn't like him. I do think that Tanjiro definitely likes Inosuke better. However, Tanjiro would die for Zenitsu, and he would trust his sister with Zenitsu 100%. I've gotten so many times where I've gone to a con cosplaying Tanjiro, and we've run across like a Demon Slayer group that I don't know, but we like, we chit chat because we're all cosplaying from Demon Slayer, and they'll be like, oh, can you like pretend you hate my friend? And they're cosplaying Zenitsu, and I'm like, what the heck? Tanjiro does not hate Zenitsu. Like, act sassy with him. Huh? You want me, as Tanjiro, to act sassy with Zenitsu like I hate him and roll my eyes at him. Tanjiro does not do that, okay? Like, did we watch the same show? The same thing can be said. I went to a panel multiple times at multiple different cons. And if you've never been to a convention before, there's all kind of different panels that you can go to. And one of the styling is the panelists are cosplayers who are role-playing the character. So they are literally cosplaying and pretending to be those characters. And I went to one where the Tanjiro cosplayer was literally acting so mean the entire time, rolling their eyes, constantly like, and I was like, hello? That person also was asked by a member in the panel, who's your favorite Hashira? And he said, what did he say? I'm gonna pick Shinobu because Gyu tried to kill Nezuko the moment he met her. I should just roll the tape of when Shinobu is like fully introduced. Yeah, like just don't role play the characters at a con if you don't actually know the characters. That's just my opinion. So there's a lot of mischaracterization in the fandom, and it's easy to mischaracterize characters, especially in a story like this where the writing is a lot more nuanced and a lot less like it's small nuances. I was thinking about it the other day because I'm a big fan of Attack on Titan as well. And I feel like Attack on Titan is known for being super nuanced, and it's the kind of story where it's in your face nuanced. Like, if you don't pay attention to every tiny little detail, even stuff in the background, you will not be able to follow the story. Demon Slayer is very simple, but it has a lot of nuance. You can still follow the story without picking up on that nuance and still get a lot out of it. Following the nuance just is going to make the story feel much more robust because there is nuance. A lot of it is with the Japanese language. I've said this before. Some of it goes right over our heads if we don't speak the language. Or even if you watch the dub compared to sub, there's some nuances just in the way things sound that if you watch the dub, it takes away that nuance. And I'm not saying you can't watch it dub. Watch it however you see fit, but you are missing out on some of the nuance because it's very heavily nuanced in the Japanese culture and language. Okay, so there's my tier list. Don't roast me in the comments, okay? I think I talked through it. Again, this is just my opinion. This is just how I perceive the characters and my tastes and that sort of thing. I will add also that I've always been someone who prefers like the main character and prefers the main characters who are really sweet, who are selfless and genuinely just want to do the best at all times, but sometimes falter. Aang is also one of my favorite main characters that I've ever seen. So that's just like my taste. These are all based off of my taste in the way the character is written and just how much I love them. So that is that. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Very long one, but thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, again, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts. Also follow me on my socials and join my channel if you would so please. But with that, thank you so much for watching. Matane!